Time. Absolutely an essential thing for a teacher to keep their eye on and for a student to keep their eye on. And here in this beautiful 21st century we live in, there are timers that are electronic that we can use all the time, pun accidentally intended. And I'd like to show you why and how and the consequences of keeping an eye on time and timers in my classroom. So I'll usually say, oh, there's about 2 minutes to go with the do now, and I'll start the clock. Now, sometimes students are not paying attention when the timer starts, but since everything is timed, the minute that timer begins, if I have to take time to redirect and prompt to usually write down a red sentence starter or to get down the notes, well then the student that waited 21, 22 seconds to get started is now 22 seconds behind the rest of the class. So if they're not paying attention to the timer, and the timer is never pressed without me giving a direction or making sure that directions are clear, or giving students like, oh, if you really need extra help with this, I'll be at station 1 or I'll be at table 2 or 5 because all my tables and groups are labeled as well, right? So starting right away is so important in this room. It keeps you on pace. All right, and the reason I'm sending this video is because your student has been struggling with that recently, and that makes a huge difference in their day, the way they receive information, and how caught up they feel, right? If you're always chasing after the information in class, you're never going to be able to master it. So you want to make sure that you start when the timer begins. It's so important, all right? What could students be doing while they wait to get to a timer? Well, they could be having a side conversation, which means that they have to quick switch to another completely different task. That's not easy, right? Instead of being focused and thinking deeply about a particular topic or subject or text or poem or image or grammar or syntax or whatever, right? They're instead focused on a classmate, right? Instead, they should be beginning as soon as the timer begins in their notebook that they've got every day. All right? These little things are little things, but they add up to habits that impact their entire academic career. So it is absolutely imperative that when Mr. Surface gives the direction, asks if there are any questions, no, and starts, that your student begins. All right? Thank you so much. Hi. If you're receiving this video, we need to talk a little bit more about slant. Slant is something that's used in middle schools across the country to help students remember the habits that make them a learner, the habits that allow for learning to occur. Without each step of slant occurring, there's always going to be something between a student and the information that they need to understand, okay? So this is sort of a way to reevaluate your child's role as a student. So let's just quickly review what slant is, okay? S, sit up straight, right? A lot of students, or possibly your students since you're receiving this video, will put their head down on the side of the desk, and what happens sometimes with teenagers because they need so much extra sleep is they fall asleep. That can be an issue because you can't take in information from the waking world if you're asleep. Sitting up is more simply than just having good posture. It shows that you're engaged with the lesson, and it also goes with the L in slant, which is listen. Stop whatever it is you were doing previously. Look at the board. This is probably while you're receiving this video. Maintaining eye contact with the teacher or the board is so important. And what's happening in the class is I'll say, all right, it's time to focus. I'm listening, says the student, but their eyes are elsewhere. Well, without eye contact, the listening is not there. Unless there's some sort of situation that I wish you had told me about earlier, most students need to make eye contact with either what's on the board here. Here we have words, different colors and images. I use this stuff in my classroom all the time, right? So they need to get that visual component. even if they're not primarily visual learners, they've got to have